You built it. The idea was yours. The research was yours. The late nights refining it, the draft that got rejected and the second draft that didn't, the solution that finally worked, all of it came from you. And then it went upward through the organization, and somewhere in that upward journey, a transformation happened. By the time it reached the room where it mattered, it had become something your manager had been working on, something the team had developed, something leadership was hearing about for the first time from someone who did not build it. You felt it. You did not misread it. Your manager did not accidentally take credit for your work. Credit flows upward in organizations for the same reason everything else does, because the structure was built to move it that way. My name is Zara, and today we are going to explain exactly why this happens, the mechanism behind it, why it is more systematic than personal, and what changes when you understand it accurately. Picture someone, 18 months into a role, given a complex problem to solve. They solve it thoroughly, creatively, with documented evidence of the process and the outcome. The solution gets presented upward. Their manager presents it. In the presentation, the language is collective. The team developed this. We identified this approach. The work is framed as a managed output rather than an individual contribution. The person who built it is present in the room. They are not named. Afterward, a senior leader compliments the manager. The manager accepts the compliment. Later, in a one-on-one, the manager tells this person the presentation landed well, as though delivering good news to someone who had nothing to do with the outcome. The person sits with a feeling they cannot fully articulate. It is not quite anger. It is closer to erasure. The question they leave with is the one that has no clean answer inside the existing structure. How do I get credit for work in a system that moves credit away from the people who produce it? Here is the diagnosis. The system does not move credit randomly. It moves credit according to a precise and consistent logic. Credit follows communication access. And communication access is distributed by hierarchy, not by contribution. The idea was yours. The work was yours. The solution that finally worked that came from you. And by the time it reached the room where it mattered, it had become something your manager had been developing. This is not a personal failing, and it is not a mystery. Credit flows upward in organizations through a specific, predictable structure, and today we break down exactly how that structure works and what you do about it before the next piece of work you build disappears into it. There are 4 mechanisms that explain why managers take credit for the work of the people they manage. Each one is structural. The last one is the most important and the most rarely named. Mechanism 1. The communication layer. In most organizational structures, the manager is the communication interface between the work and the people who evaluate it. Senior leadership does not have direct visibility of the work being done by individual contributors. They receive reports, presentations, and updates from the managers who sit between them and the work. The mechanism is attribution, by proximity to the communication. When a manager presents work to senior leadership, the natural attribution is to the presenter. The work did not arrive at the presentation table with its origin clearly labeled. It arrived through a person. That person becomes the face of the work in the organizational memory of everyone who received it. The individual contributor who produced the work was not in the room. Absent people are not credited. Present people are. In organizations, credit is assigned to whoever delivers the message, not whoever wrote it. Mechanism 2. The ownership ambiguity managers are formally accountable for the output of their teams. When a project succeeds, the manager is held responsible for that success in the same way they would be held responsible for a failure. This accountability creates a genuine, structurally legitimate basis for the manager to claim ownership of the output not as a misrepresentation, but as an accurate reflection of where the formal accountability sits. The mechanism is accountability credit conflation. Because managers are accountable for team output, the language of ownership my team delivered, we built this. I led the development of Dottery's technically accurate, even when it obscures the specific contribution of the individual who did the work. The manager is not lying. The structure makes their ownership claim legitimate, while simultaneously making the individual contributor invisible. When accountability is collective, credit becomes collective, and collective credit always flows toward the most senior voice in the room. Mechanism 3. The narrative compression. As work travels upward through organizational layers, it undergoes a consistent transformation compression. A month of detailed work becomes a paragraph in a report. A paragraph becomes a bullet point. A bullet point becomes a mention in a presentation. Each compression removes specificity, including the specific attribution of who did what. The mechanism is detail loss through summarization. Senior leadership does not have the bandwidth to receive full attribution detail for every piece of work that passes through the organization. They receive summaries. Summaries are produced by managers. Managers summarize in the language of team and project output rather than individual contribution, because that is the language that is most legible at the level they are communicating to. The individual contributor's name is not removed maliciously. It is removed by the compression process that all upward communication undergoes. Every layer of organizational hierarchy between you and the decision-makers is a layer of attribution loss. Mechanism 4. The reputational investment logic. This is the mechanism that is most rarely named and most important to understand. Managers are evaluated on the quality of the output their teams produce. When that output is exceptional, it benefits the manager's reputation directly. There is therefore a rational, if uncomfortable, incentive structure that makes claiming credit for team output professionally advantageous. The mechanism is reputational arbitrage. The manager who presents excellent work produced by their team and receives the credit for it has extracted reputational value from the team's contribution without a corresponding cost. The team member receives no reputational benefit in the rooms where reputation is built. The manager receives it all. This is not universally intentional. Many managers do not consciously calculate this arbitrage, but the structure rewards it, and behaviors that are rewarded by structure persist, regardless of whether the individual performing them understands why. Your manager's reputation is partially built from your work. The structure makes this possible, rewarding, and invisible. Here is what the pattern produces over years. Your work travels upward consistently. Your name does not. The reputations built in rooms above your level are built from your output, attributed to your manager, compounding year over year into a career trajectory that your contribution is funding, but your name is not appearing on. Meanwhile, the senior leaders who would need to know your name in order to advocate for your advancement have no independent record of your contribution. They know your manager. They know your manager's results. They associate those results with your manager's judgment and capability. Your name, if it appears at all, appears in the context of your manager's team, a supporting detail in someone else's professional narrative. You are not invisible because you are not producing. You are invisible because the production is being transmitted through a channel that carries your work, but not your identity. Every exceptional contribution you make that travels upward without your name attached is a career, investment you made in someone else's future. Here is the lens that changes every future contribution. Stop expecting attribution to travel with your work through the organizational hierarchy. It does not. The structure removes it, compresses it, and reassigns it before it reaches the people whose recognition of it would change your position. Expecting the structure to preserve your attribution is expecting a system to do something it was not designed to do. The alternative is not confrontation. It is interception, building attribution before the work enters the channel that will strip it. Credit captured before the meeting is the only credit that survives the meeting. 3 moves. Each one executable before the next significant piece of work reaches your manager's desk. Move 1. Create a direct communication trail between your contribution and the senior stakeholders who will evaluate it. Before your manager presents your work, send a brief, professional update to the relevant senior person yourself. Not the full presentation, a 1-paragraph summary. I wanted to give you a heads up that the analysis is ready ahead of the timeline, happy to walk you through any specific elements before the presentation. This message does several things simultaneously. It establishes your direct involvement before attribution is determined. It creates a communication record that exists independently of your manager's presentation. And it signals capability and proactivity to a person who currently has no direct evidence of either. Move 2. Attach your name to the work product itself, not just the process. Every document, analysis, model, or deliverable you produce should carry your name, your contact information, and a version history that shows your authorship. When work is presented in compressed form, the underlying documents are sometimes referenced or circulated. If those documents carry your name, the attribution survives the compression that the presentation underwent. This is not self-promotion, it is professional documentation of intellectual origin. Move 3. Build a skip-level relationship through legitimate contribution before you need it for credit. Identify one senior person above your manager whose work intersects with yours. Find a legitimate reason to contribute directly to something they are working on, a question they have asked publicly, a problem their team is navigating, an initiative they are leading. One direct contribution to their work gives them an independent data point about your capability that exists outside your manager's narrative. It also creates a relationship through which future attribution can travel directly rather than through the layer that removes it. Your work is producing value at the top of the organization. Your name should travel with it. Your work reached rooms you have never been in. It influenced decisions made by people who do not know your name. It built a reputation for someone who was present when you were not. It compounded upward into a career that belongs to someone else, while you produce the underlying material from a position that the attribution never returned to. That is not a personal failure. It is the natural output of a structure that was designed to move work upward and leave names behind. Most people spend careers producing inside that structure without understanding how it works. The work travels. The credit does not follow. The only intervention that changes the outcome is the one that happens before the work enters the channel, not after it has already arrived somewhere without you. Your contribution was never the problem. The route it traveled was. If you have produced work that reached a room above you without your name attached to it, drop the word "mine" in the comments. Just that word. I want to know how many people this channel is reaching who have built something that was presented as someone else's. Subscribe if you want to keep seeing the things most workplaces will never tell you. I'm Zara, and this is Zara versus the Workplace.